In today's class, we will learn the concept of stability. So, stability is a very important property of any control systems. Stability in a system is nothing but if there is a small change in the reference input or the disturbance or any initial condition, it shouldn't result in a large variation in the system output. That means if there is any change in the input, there should be only a small change in the output. Almost every working system is designed to be stable. So in addition to the controller design or the feedback design related to your system accuracy or the steady state accuracy, the speed of the response, the system should be stable. So if we consider an open loop system, and if the open loop system is stable, it doesn't mean that the closed loop control system should always be stable. So for studying the concept of stability, here we go for the analytical method. In the sense, we take up the analytical study of the stability. So when we are going for the analytical study of the stability, we will consider a feedback or we will consider a closed loop control system of this form, wherein R of S is the input, Y of S is the output, G of S is the forward path transfer function, H of S is the feedback path transfer function, and B of S is the feedback signal. So this particular closed loop system, the transfer function can be written as M of S is equal to Y of S by R of S is equal to, we have already derived this, G of S divided by 1 plus G of S into H of S. So the closed loop transfer function of this particular feedback system is G of S divided by 1 plus G of S H of S, wherein this G of S H of S is the open loop transfer function. Open loop transfer function. Now this particular open loop transfer function G of S, H of S can be written in a factored form, wherein this G of S, H of S is equal to K. K is nothing but the open loop gain of the feedback system. Product of the sum S plus Zi, where Z indicates the number of open loop zeros. So Zi is equal to 1 to M. So I is equal to 1 is the first zero of the open loop transfer function, likewise M till M. So S plus Zi divided by the product of the sum S plus Pj, where J is equal to 1 to N are the poles of the open loop transfer function G of S into H of S. So if you look here, the function G of S into H of S, it approaches infinity when S is equal to minus Pj. So G of S into H of S becomes infinity when S is equal to minus Pj. That is when it is equal to the poles of G of S, H of S. Likewise, G of S into H of S becomes 0 when S is equal to minus Zi, where I equal to 1 to M indicates the zeros of the open loop transfer function G of S into H of S. So your system output, which is Y of S, can be written as Y of S can be written as G of S divided by 1 plus G of S H of S into R of S. So Y of S, you can write it that way. If you want to have the response Y of t, you have to take the inverse Laplace. So you can observe this expression Y of t is equal to Laplace inverse of G of S divided by 1 plus G of S H of S into R of S, where we can express this G of S divided by 1 plus G of S H of S as M of S. So Laplace inverse of M of S into R of S. So in the time domain analysis of a system, we have seen that the response Y of t, the response Y of t contains two components. One is the transient component and the other one is the steady state component. So the transient component or the transient response is determined by the poles of M of S, whereas the steady state component is determined by the poles of R of S, where R of S indicates the type and magnitude of the reference input. So I repeat, the transient component is determined by the poles of the closed loop transfer function, which is M of S, whereas the steady state response depends or is determined by the poles of R of S, where R of S is the reference input, its type and magnitude. Therefore, to study the concept of stability, we need to analyze the closed loop system. So we will look into the poles of M of S in order to study the concept of stability. So the closed loop poles of the system are nothing but the roots of the characteristic equation. The characteristic equation is given by 1 plus G of S into H of S equal to 0. So this is your characteristic equation. Characteristic equation. So the poles of this particular characteristic equation determines the stability of the closed loop system. So if we substitute G of S into H of S as K product of sum S plus Zi divided by product of the sum S plus Pj, where J varies from 1 to n. If you substitute that in this particular equation, you are going to get this expression. So you rewrite this, you will get this step. So this characteristic equation, the characteristic equation which is represented by this equation 1 can be expressed in the conventional polynomial form as delta of S is equal to A naught S to the power n plus A1 S to the power n minus 1 up to An, where all are non-zero values. So A naught, A1, An minus 1, An are non-zero values. So this equation 2 is the characteristic polynomial of the characteristic equation represented by equation 1. So in order to identify the closed loop poles, we need to analyze, we need to use numerical analysis for the polynomial equation, that is equation 2. So before we go into the numerical analysis of the characteristic equation, we will study the concept of stability in detail. For a system which is either linear or non-linear, time variant or time invariant, the definition of stability for each of the type of system varies. So now we will concentrate on the stability of a linear time invariant system. So if we consider a plant or a system with input R of t and output y of t, then the response y of t or the stability of a system or the plant depends mainly on two things. One is the input which we give, R of t. That is nothing but the external input or the reference input which we apply. And second one is the initial condition of or the initial energy storage in the plant, which is represented by the initial conditions of the system, usually represented by x of t. So we can explain the concept of stability based on two things. First thing is, say suppose the initial conditions are 0, that is x of 0 is equal to 0. X of 0 is equal to 0. Then whatever is the input, or if the input is bounded, the output should also be bounded. That is nothing but the concept of bounded input, bounded output. So bounded input, bounded output is, if your input is bounded, the output should also be bounded. Second condition is, if we consider the changes in the initial storage, that is x of t varies. For R of t equal to 0, then what is the output? Y of t. So two conditions. One is x of 0 equal to 0, that is there is no initial charge storage in the system. So in that condition, if your input is bounded, output should also be bounded. Second thing is, the state is varying and the R of t is equal to 0, then what is your output? So we will see what is the concept of bounded input, bounded output, that is BIBO, bounded input, bounded output. Stability is, say suppose you can observe in this, the input applied is unit step input and the output is exponentially increasing. So if your output decays or reduces as time tends to infinity, then you call it as a stable system. So you can observe in this particular output, as time increases, your output gradually reduces. In this case, the system is said to be stable, or it gives you a bounded output. Whereas in this particular case, you can see that the response is increasing as time tends to infinity. In this case, you say that the output is not bounded. The output is not bounded and the system is said to be unstable. For a stable system, for bounded input, you have to get a bounded output. For unstable system, for a bounded input, your output may not be bounded. There are other concepts. As I told you, we study the stability concept based on the pole location of the closed loop transfer function. Based on that, we have other definitions of stability. So you can see here, a linear time invariant system is said to be stable if your output approaches 0. That means your output reduces as time increases. If the output goes on increasing as time increases, then the system is said to be unstable. If you have a response or the output which is either constant or it is oscillating, it neither reduces nor it increases, then such a system is called as marginally stable system. So if you look here, the first diagram is the one wherein the system is stable. The output is decreasing, whereas here you can see the output is neutral. It is almost constant. It is marginally stable, whereas an unstable system, you can observe that the system response is increasing as time tends to infinity. This is the stability concept based on how your response is. The initial response is the transient response. The final response is nothing but your steady state response. So now we'll come across the stability concept based on the location of the poles and zeros of the system. So we are going to observe the pole location of M of S, where M of S is nothing but G of S divided by 1 plus G of S into H of S, which is nothing but the closed loop transfer function. So as you can see a S plane over here, the real axis is denoted by sigma, the imaginary axis is j omega. So this is the S plane. This corresponds to the left hand side and this corresponds to the right hand side of the S plane. So the location of the poles of M of S, that is nothing but the closed loop transfer function, determines the stability of the system. So the poles of the closed loop transfer function, that is M of S, it can be either real, it can be either complex, it can be complex conjugate with multiple orders or with multiple roots. So if any one pole gives you unbounded response, then the entire system is unstable. So for the system to be stable, all the poles should give a bounded response or a bounded output. So a system is stable if all the poles individually contribute bounded components in the response. Based on the location of the poles, if you have the poles located on the left hand side of the plane, then the system is said to be a stable system. Whereas if you have the poles located on the right side, then the system is said to be unstable system. The system is said to be unstable. If you have poles located in the left half and if you have one or more non-repeated roots on this imaginary axis, then the system is marginally stable. So I repeat, if all the roots of the characteristic equation lie in the left half of the S-plane, then the system is stable. If any root of the characteristic equation lies in the right half of S-plane, the system is unstable. If you have poles located on the left half plane, as well as if you have one or more non-repeated roots on the j omega axis, then the system is marginally stable. So you can, for a linear time invariant system, we can determine the roots of the characteristic polynomial to find the stability. So you know that the characteristic equation is given by 1 plus g of s into h of s is equal to 0. You have to find the roots of this characteristic equation, or you have to find the roots of the characteristic polynomial. Now, if it is a first order and second order polynomial, that is a naught s to the power n, if this n is second order or third order polynomial, we can use numerical methods to find the roots. We can go for trial and error method also to find the roots. But if the n is of order greater than 3, then we need to go for some computer programs, because numerical analysis will be a tedious one. Therefore, we need to have a computer program for the analysis of the higher order polynomials. So, the disadvantage of the numerical technique is that all parameters in the system must be assigned numerical values. So, you can't find the range of parameters. You can't find the stability of a system very easily. So we will go through the stability criteria, which is a root stability criteria. It is an analytical procedure of stability study, so wherein we will find the range of parameters for stability without finding the roots of the characteristic polynomial. So we'll just find whether the system is stable or not using the root stability criteria, but we cannot find the roots of the characteristic equation by using that. So here is an example of a stable system and an unstable system. You can see a transfer function which is of the form 1 by s plus 3, and the root is s. So this is of the form g of s divided by, this is of the form g of s divided by 1 plus g of s h of s. So your characteristic equation is 1 plus g of s h of s. So if you compare, your 1 plus g of s h of s is s plus 3, which is equal to 0. So what is s equal to? S equal to minus 3. So minus 3 is somewhere here. So this is a stable system because the poles are located on the left half of the S plane. If you observe this second example, the characteristic equation here is s minus 3 equal to 0, where s is equal to 3. The pole is located in the right half of the plane. Therefore, the system is unstable. The response of this particular transfer function, if you see, this is the response of 1 by s plus 3. This is the response for 1 divided by s minus 3. So you have a decaying response here. It means the system is stable. If you observe this response is increasing. It is 12 into 10 to the power 12. So the system is unstable. So next we will move on to the concept of root stability criteria.